I've done this where I completely forgot to press record.
Oh, no.
Many times.
Oh, God.
Many times. What's going on, everybody? Jamie Cheerio here with Mr. Jimmy Sorrells, the founder of Liberty Networking, welcoming you guys to the first episode of the Liberty Lounge. And I couldn't be more excited to welcome our special guest, Mr. Erik Corcoran, and I'm excited for you guys to hear his story and some lessons. But before we get there, Jimmy, just talk to us a little bit about the motivation behind starting this podcast and really what you're looking to do for our community.
Yeah, Jamie. So the podcast is to help small businesses and within Liberty Networking to bring them more value and to get the word out about, hey, these are the businesses that have the same values and morals that you do, and these are the ones that we want to support.
I love it. Talk to us about what are some of those values and morals that Liberty Networking was founded on.
Yeah, so Liberty Networking, the values are liberty and integrity, and that's the core values. The core focus is building authentic long-term relationships.
I love it. Awesome. Well, guys, I'm excited to introduce our special guest. We have Mr. Erik Corcoran of Businesses for Liberty. How we doing, Erik?
I'm doing great. So honored to be on this. This is exciting.
Absolutely. Where did you travel in from?
So today last night from Edisto, which is a good 4 hours. But, Greenville, I'm always happy up here. So many conservatives in such a liberty-minded area, and I just love the fact that people are standing up and saying we've had enough of what's happened in our country and we're taking a stand now.
I love it. So, guys, Erik is the founder, CEO. What's your title?
Founder. I like founder.
Founder of Businesses for Liberty, and BFL is a patriot advertising business, very similar to Liberty Networking, but differences that we're going to definitely make sure y'all understand. But they advertise for businesses that are number 1, pro-life, number 2, pro-liberty, number 3, pro-history, number 4, pro-Second Amendment, and number 5, America First. So tell us a little bit about your background and maybe how you and Jimmy met.
Yeah, kind of a crazy journey in my life. Actually originally from Ireland, I went through many years of immigration to become an American citizen. Proudest day of my life, getting sworn in. Little immigration office in Charleston after a long journey. But what happened, in 2020 with our monuments and the country being under attack, I just said we've got to fight back productively. And instead of just complaining and whining and moaning on social media, let's actually productively take a stand. And so I kept thinking about it. Every time you pull out your wallet, your money's either going to liberty or it's going to tyranny. And I'm proud to say Jimmy and I kind of saw that, in South Carolina, in Charleston and in Greenville, and just the fear that was gripping our state. And we said, well, let's fight back together.
That's powerful. Jimmy, what was it like when you first met Erik? What did you think?
It was a ball of energy. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So I own a merchant services company called Upstate Merchant Advocates, and I was in about 5 network groups, and that's at the point early on, right after BFL started, that I joined as a member for that business. And just being a member and seeing what Erik was doing and how he was promoting businesses is where I got the inspiration and the idea to start Liberty Networking, which is an in-person networking organization for patriot business owners and professional salespeople.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in-person network for patriot business owners and salespeople, and then Business for Liberty. Give us the difference.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to say is we're the mass advertising. So what I love about what Jimmy did, thank the Lord, is you saw the need that wasn't being filled. We needed people networking. But I was more focused on the advertising. So we want to connect the customer at home who doesn't own a business with all these options. Like I wore these, I can't show them right now, but these Liberty socks from Twig, Mandy Burdick and Jesse Burdick in Walterboro, South Carolina. But every purchase we make, Jamie, every single one is supporting some agenda. So I'm connecting the consumers with the businesses. And Jimmy, thank goodness for what you're doing, bringing businesses together, meeting in person.
Yeah, so Erik, when someone joins BFL, tell us a little bit about how do you promote them, what platforms, how does that look?
So we're currently on 12 social media platforms. I do a lot of interviews. I'm learning how to do the short ones, getting all the clips out there. Of course, we do the logo photos, getting those out there. We have our, obviously, directory on our website. But it's all about just finding clever ways to get as many eyeballs on these patriot businesses as we possibly can.
That's right. So you're promoting them, whereas Liberty Networking, we have multiple chapters that meet on a regular basis. and they're building relationships, and they are helping grow each other's business through referrals. So that's some of the.
Oh,
the
and we have, of
difference.
course, the weekly Zoom call where we get because we want to have. I mean, my dream, Jamie, is to have in every state in this country businesses for liberty.
Yeah.
So we got to be virtual to some extent to get all these people to see each other. So we're doing the virtual meetings.
And Liberty Networking in every state too.
That's right. Yes, we're going to take over this country in the right way.
So that's a few differences. Like he is connecting the consumer to the businesses, and we're connecting the businesses to business to help with referrals to other consumers.
Awesome. I love it. So I think like one of the big things that we really want to know is we want to know, the lessons, because I'm sure that not just building a business, but putting yourself out there and putting the stamp of being a patriot, like that has a triggering effect. And, trigger warning, there's a few things in here that, if you're watching, might just automatically trigger you. You brought the American flag. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, Betsy Ross flag means so much to me because you think about the 13 colonies, right? Our country wouldn't be here without those 13 colonies, one of them being South Carolina, and I'm always proud to remind people of that fact. So we need the spirit of the Betsy Ross flag in our country again. I look at, what happened with the monuments, and that was a learning moment for the country. Are we going to learn from the good, the bad, and the ugly that happened, or are we just going to react emotionally to everything? And I would just tell people, listen, you got to learn from it. Just like you and I have good and bad memories, but it took the bad to lead us to where we are today as human beings and as a country.
I love it. Give us a story, maybe. What's the craziest thing that you experienced in these last few years? Maybe crazy people approaching you on the street.
Oh,
like, what are some crazy things that have happened?
You give you 10. Probably the craziest one was, in Charleston, I remember, people were screaming at us and calling us every name in the book. And I remember thinking, I would tell people, if you're going to come out and stand at these monuments with us, you got to stand with honor, dignity, and respect. They want you. They're going to bait you and do everything they can to get you to do something in anger. And that's going to ruin the entire reason we're standing out here. But I remember this one lady, she came across the street because you had the Defenders of Charleston monument, you had the battery. And she said, my husband can't breathe. And I was like, we got to pray over this woman. So we actually literally left the monument, laid hands on her and started praying. And while we were praying, all the people that were on her side were screaming at her and calling her every name in the book for being with us. And she looked up and she looked in my eyes and she said, I thought that this side was the side of hate, but this is actually the side of love. And it was just like we became great friends. And it was just amazing that, like in that moment, what everyone would have thought would have been a terrible moment actually turned out to be one of the most incredible moments of my life.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit, a short story of your history of how you got to where you are, how you actually, what's your past? What did you do before BFL, and then what inspired you to start BFL?
Yeah, so when we came to America, my dad was a pastor. Actually, the whole Jesus movement, the movie came out and all that. That's how we came to America, was through Pastor Chuck Smith. If it wasn't for him, we would never have come to this country. So, when we came over, I fell in love with American history, so that came back later, and baseball, and just the South. I wanted to come out here my mom can tell you from a very early age.
Where did you come from?
Ireland originally.
Ireland.
Yes. So
okay.
quite a trip across that pond, across, and so I studied political science in college at Charleston Southern. Give them a little bit of a plug. Love Charleston Southern, and I remember just thinking, what am I going to do with this degree? So I went on to work for a couple of campaigns, Rick Perry, Ted Cruz. And I saw the good and the bad and the ugly of how the sausage is made and, just a lot of stuff that people don't know, that's going on behind the scenes. But I remember thinking, I want to be able to build something that's going to help people with their livelihoods, not just talk and, because all this, I'm on this second committee of the third vice chair. I don't care what your title is. What are you doing? And that's what I love, Jimmy, about what we're doing is we're actually helping people where they're at their home. I mean, if a small business says, well, maybe the kids go to baseball camp. Or they don't. And we saw so many small businesses go out of business in 2020 while Walmart and these big companies were doing great. But what about the mom and pop businesses that are the character of this country in every main street all across South Carolina? So it's been kind of a rambling journey, Jimmy, to answer your question, from working for political candidates, obviously, being in the ministry through my dad, and then finding what I wanted to do in life.
Where did that motivation come from to start this network? Was this the first business that you tried to start? Was there any other entrepreneur ventures before you landed here?
So before then, Jimmy will remember this, I started an organization called South Carolina We the People. And that was a nonprofit that was just kind of rallying people under similar pillars just to take a stand for our beliefs. But again, when I saw what happened on January 6th and in Washington, I saw all these people with Starbucks mugs and Burger King wrappers. And I was just like, what are we doing? We're standing for liberty as we're eating and drinking from tyranny. So that's what kind of inspired me to say, we've got to do something directly with business. Where are our dollars going, you know?
That's good. That's good. I think what our listeners are going to take a lot of value from is maybe on your journey to building this organization, what were some of like the struggles and mistakes that you maybe made in trying to get yourself out there? Just some lessons that were learned along the way, especially trying to start something that's new that nobody knows about. And I mean, how many businesses do you have, bought in right now?
So we have 228. We're in 16, almost soon to be 18 states. I'm working on Vermont and Utah, but yeah, a lot of lessons just in terms of, some people, Jamie, and you know this, they'll be with you quietly, but they're not ready to come out and say, I'm a patriot business owner. But what I tell these patriot business owners is, you're missing out on some of the greatest friendships you could ever have. I have made more friends, like great guys like Jimmy Sorrells, in the last 2.5 years than I knew the rest of my life up until that point. So what I tell people is, you're missing community, because think about it, when you go to a big corporation or a big business, you're not having a great experience. You're just going in and going out. There's no interaction. There's no community. But when you go into a small business and you get to hang out with guys like Jimmy, you are having a great experience. So that's what I tell people is, look, you might be scared, but there's a silent majority, and it's becoming more vocal. And they want to get to know you. Like, again, I say Mandy Burdick, but look at Twig. Like, people all over South Carolina know where that is now because she put herself out there as a patriot, and I think more and more people are excited to do that now.
Who was, and maybe we can plug them here, who was your first follower? Who was the first person that came out and said, I'm publicly going to support Business for Liberty?
I believe it was Tony Rodriguez, and he's down in Summerville, South Carolina with a Ford dealership. Okay. And that's actually one of the largest Ford dealerships, and he's an amazing story coming from Cuba. He went from janitor all the way up to general manager.
Wow.
I mean, he's lived the American dream.
Yeah.
So I believe he was the first member of Businesses for Liberty.
Yeah, there's this TED Talk that I remember watching back in the day, and it's just like this. They put on this cheesy video of a bunch of people sitting at a concert in a grass field, and one guy gets up and he starts dancing like an idiot in front of everybody, and everyone's just watching this guy dancing like an idiot. And it wasn't until the second person got up there and joined him, that first follower, that then the rest of the crowd kind of felt permission to join in. So, like, especially when you're starting something new, like whether you're building a sales organization, you're building a network, you're building a business. I mean, that first customer, that first follower, the proof of concept. I mean, going from just getting started to now over 200 businesses all over the country. I mean, that's a big deal. So, what was that like? I guess because you had to develop not just a business model for people to buy into, you had to develop yourself as a leader. Like, why should people follow you? So what was that like, that personal development journey of, like, did you ever have doubts of, like, should people really be following me? Like, am I somebody that's even worth following?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a business degree. My degree, like I said, was in political science. I mean, Jimmy, I had so many questions at times, like, I'm out of my league. What am I doing? I don't have this, working in other corporations in the past, or I don't have all this expertise. But what I did have was passion. And I know what I believe in. I know what I believe in. I know my values. When I say pro-life, pro-liberty, pro-history, pro-Second Amendment, America first, I mean, listen, that to me there is no negotiation. Like, that's what we believe in. Those are our values. So I could go to any business and say, okay, here's where we stand. Do you stand with these? And I've said no to a lot of business owners. So protecting our brand, protecting our integrity as an organization, it gives me pride, that we're actually standing for something. We're not saying, we just want, as many business owners. I want the right business owners. But no, I've learned a lot about how to deal with rejection, how to deal with people I thought would come on board and didn't, I had a woman who wouldn't even shake my hand when I walked into a business because I had the Betsy Ross flag with me. And this was in South Carolina. This isn't in New York or, Vermont or some other state that you would think it would happen. But in South Carolina, it happened. So yeah, I think dealing with people, being fickle, there's always that thing. We all know this in business, that you're going to follow up and follow up and follow up. But I like to think the people who are meant to be with us are with us now.
Just in regards to rejection, like somebody out there who's facing rejection, or they're in a business that requires a lot of prospecting and they're constantly getting no, I'm not interested, no, I'm not interested. How can that person grow themselves as a person to where, number one, the rejection doesn't really hurt, they don't take it personal, but number two, like getting better, because you also got better, like you I don't want to say perfected, but whatever your elevator pitch is about your business and providing value to people, you got better at showing people why your business could provide value to them. So like, what advice could you give to someone out there that maybe is struggling with rejection and they feel like they just can't get that win?
All this is mental, right? Life is a mental struggle. And what I did recently, or like I think it was last year, was I created an album of all these photos of screenshots of people saying, thank you for what you've done. Because of what you're doing, my business grew, and it's good to look back on. When you have a tough day, when you had 10 rejections in a row or something, you need to remember the impacts you have made. Celebrate your wins. I think that's a massive thing. If you don't celebrate where you've come, then you're constantly, I haven't made it, I'm not there yet, and that's going to slow you down, and it's also going to be depressing for you. So I tell people, look, if you want to remember, first of all, what you believe in, and be passionate about that. But secondly, look at the people you have helped. They say for every negative thing, you need 7 positives to make up for that negative comment. So surround yourself, whether it's on your phone, your laptop, whatever, with the impact you have made. I think that's very important.
That's good. Jim, you got anything to add?
No.
Any questions?
I mean, I just was going to say earlier, you were talking about where you spend your money. That's a huge thing. There's a lot of companies that are, shall we say, smart in the fact that they don't talk about politics.
Right.
But the ones that say, hey, I am supporting Planned Parenthood, or I am supporting, confused transgender people, or whatever the issue may be.
Right.
And this is America, and I can still choose where to spend my money.
Yeah.
And I personally don't shop at Target or Amazon or Starbucks. And so I go to BFL first, and I say, what am I looking for? What service am I looking for? What product is it offered here? And then I also go to Liberty Networking, and that's where I start. And then outside of that, I try to shop local with people I know.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, that was one of the first things that you talked to me about, was just taking money away from the woke businesses.
Yeah, like even right now, see, this is not a belt tie, right? This is a keepers at home tie, and they're up here in Welford, South Carolina, and they're a family-run business, which is wonderful. Like, all the girls make all the stuff together. They do so much stuff, the linens, the ties, you name it. Just thinking about every purchase you make, we're already spending this money on apparel, on food, on insurance, all these things, right? So you're already going to be spending it. So why not just redirect that spending towards liberty-minded people? How I look at it is, I think a lot of people, Jamie, they're frustrated with the country. They're frustrated with Joe Biden. They're frustrated with the media. And they're like, how do I even fight back, though? I don't live in Washington. Yeah. I'm not, an elected official. I'm not a leader. But you know what? You can absolutely make a difference in your town, in your county, in your city. And I tell people, you want to drain the swamp? Let's drain the economic swamp. So every time you don't spend money at Starbucks in these places, you're not supporting the agenda that wants to take down our country.
And that is the one place that we're guaranteed that we can make a difference on on an individual level.
Yeah, voting with our dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good transition. Just a little bit, I'd love to hear, and I already kind of have an idea, but just your thoughts on what is going on in the world, what's going on in our country, what's going on here in South Carolina. I mean, what are some things that you have noticed? I mean, obviously there was just a big, it's like the big bang when the pandemic hit, and just a million things came out into the light. But like, what are some things that you've noticed, whether, just kind of it's slow rolled to now it's become normal, or things that are happening right now in the world that you're super concerned about?
One of the things, I have maybe a controversial take on this. I think that things have to get dark for people to wake up, and for the light to contrast with the dark. I tell people, when the country is the darkest, which is kind of right now, patriots can shine the brightest. I think people were kind of asleep sometimes, like, oh, things would never happen in America. Things would never happen in South Carolina. Well, a lot of them did.
Yeah.
And they're happening in the schools, and they're happening in businesses. And one thing I got to give a shout out to Mark Lynch. Mark Lynch at Jeff Lynch Appliances. He stood up to OSHA and all these people and said, "You are not shutting down my business. I am essential."
Yeah.
And I think about how many businesses did not take that approach, and they're not here anymore because they just said, "Oh, this whole thing of compassion for others. What about individual liberty, which is actually a God-given right that we just handed over to the government?" But no, I think, Jamie, to answer your question, that I'm excited about the times we're living in.
Yeah.
Because people are saying, you know what, for such a time as this, I'm taking a stand for me and my family.
100%. I mean, my wife and I, we moved here just over a year ago from Portland, Oregon.
Oh,
and
gee, yeah,
I mean, just that's trigger warning for all you
War
conservatives
zone,
on
yeah.
here. You hear
We
Portland.
thought it was bad in Charleston.
Yeah, it got pretty bad out there, and thankfully we lived in the farmlands. But I did a little bit of business in Portland, and what was important to us when we moved here, I mentioned it when you guys first got here. If you can think of a circle, at the center of the circle are the values of the culture where you're at. My wife and I felt like black sheep when we were living in Portland. We felt like even in our church was was kind of like a liberal Christian church, and when the pandemic hit, they handled it really weird, and we got a little uncomfortable when we came back. And then ironically, we ended up finding the church that Jimmy and I attend online on YouTube during the pandemic, and that was one of the main reasons that we then said, well, what's this Greenville, South Carolina area about? And just in you saying that, those things, we thought would never come to South Carolina, we moved here for the reason that we were like, where in the country could we go where we could have the most freedom? Like, I remember 2 years ago on a hiking trail, and somebody's like, "Hey, 6 feet distance." I'm like, "Dude, we're outside. We're on top of a mountain right now."
I don't play that game.
And I'm like,
My goodness.
so where can we go where, we have, my wife and I, we did a home birth with both of our kids. Like, we want it with no medical intervention. Like, where can we go where we're not going to be required to do these things? Where can we go where, I run a business, I was meeting in the home with clients, I was doing, 10, 15 clients a day, 200-300 miles a day. And when I was in Portland, I'd wear a mask on my wrist. And depending on how they answered the door is how I would approach the meeting. So if they had their mask on, I'd quickly put it on like I was going to have it on the whole time. If they didn't, I'd slip it in my pocket. But it was just a weird thing to have to always navigate. And then I came here, and everybody was just so incredibly kind, Southern hospitality, and I felt like we were a little bit closer to the center of the circle. And obviously, not everybody, nobody's perfect, but we felt like they're just in this area of the world, just the conservative values. It's such a higher percentage. So we feel so blessed to be here. And then to hear you say that even these things are seeping into South Carolina, I mean, to me, I'm looking at it as, well, it's not as bad as over there. So for me, I'm super comfortable. But for someone who grew up in South Carolina like you guys, you're like, this isn't normal.
You remember what I told you whenever you moved here? What was the first thing I told you? Welcome to God's country.
Welcome to God's country. That's right.
But Columbia is Columbia, South Carolina. Where our state capital is a swamp as well, and it's a good old boys club, and you do have some conservatives there trying to make a difference, but there's the old guard that want to protect each other, and they don't want to make true conservative changes.
Too radical.
So yes, and a lot of that, I mean, it's in Columbia, but a lot of it comes from the Low Country and some from around here as well.
Yeah, my wife, she was a teacher for 7-8 years in, the craziest place possible in the Pacific Northwest. And it started to get weird when the pandemic happened, and we started to see some of the agenda come out. Yeah. And then we saw, here it's like you see people praying in school, like that stuff is normal. If that happened in Oregon, like I saw a football coach prayed in Oregon with his team after a game, and he was fired.
Oh my gosh.
And then come here. So we were thinking, okay, the public schools here are so much better than they were there, but that doesn't mean that those problems weren't still seeping in here. Exactly. So like now we're becoming aware of the fact that like it can still reach a place like South Carolina, the place that we thought this is God's country, we're moving to the promised land. Yeah. It can even make it here.
And I've heard stories just from networking that people moving here from all over Nevada to New Jersey, you name it, and all of them have similar stories, just like you do, but they don't know each other, and they all move in here, and because I haven't been to those places, but I've heard enough stories to know how bad it was. Yeah. That being said, even though we're in South Carolina, we still choose to homeschool our kids here.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we found the church, and then we also found a private school, and like those were like two of the reasons that we decided to move here. So, I mean, just what are your thoughts on
one of the things I was thinking as you guys were talking too is like medical freedom.
Yeah, there you go.
It is not a controversial thing at all. What does medical freedom mean? It's you the right to wear a mask, not wear a mask, take a vaccine, not take a vaccine. It's not authority, because I've seen some people go the other way where it's authoritarian. We're like, oh, I better not see you wearing a mask. No, they have the right to wear a hat, wear a mask, whatever they want to do. But I think when you lose the right to agree to disagree, that's a dangerous place to be. And you look at where I'm from in Ireland, look at Europe, it is terrible. Yeah. The amount of freedoms that have been restricted in the name of safety. And you think it's bad in New York, go over to Europe, go to Canada, Australia. So, it's amazing, isn't it, that the word liberty is controversial, that the word medical freedom is controversial, when everyone should want that. Because that actually cuts across all political divides and even feelings, like whether you believe your doctor, you believe your, the person you're working with, like that should be up to you. You're an adult. You can make that decision, but it's the world we live in.
A lot of them are only tolerant if you agree with them, right? That's
Man, I dealt with many.
Coexist except Christianity.
Except, yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
A big one.
Absolutely. I remember, in just a little side tangent, right at the height of the pandemic, I went into someone's house who had one of those coexist stickers on the outside of their house, and they had it's like the rainbow sticker with the "We love this, this, and this." And I go in there, I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun. And I keep my mask on my wrist, and we start the presentation about the insurance, and then about halfway through, she goes, "Are you vaccinated?"
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I've had some vaccines in my life, but not the COVID one. And she's like, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Well, it's new. My wife and I were not super comfortable with it. We just had a baby." She goes, "You just had a baby? Like, that's the exact reason why you need it."
Oh my goodness.
"Can we get in my car right now, and can I take you down there?" I was like,
"Oh my gosh."
I'm like, "No, let's just finish what we got going here." And then her husband comes out, and he's like, "Where's your mask? Put it on." So I put my mask on, and then she just immediately, "Well, you Trump followers, you this, you that, you guys are the problem with the world." And then she looks at me dead in the eyes. "All right, give me your pitch." And I was like,
that is so awkward.
I was like, "You know what? I think I'm going to head out." And she followed me to my car, basically knocking on my window. "You're what's wrong with this country. You're what's wrong with this country. You need to go get your infant son vaccinated," all these things. And it was just, I remember calling my wife, like, it's like the first time I had like a major adrenaline rush outside of like sports or like a confrontation with somebody. And I was like,
the gridiron was brought
I was like, what just happened? And I mean, that was like a turning point for us. And we were just like, man, like, where can we go that, we're not going to experience that on that level and as often. I
mean, South Carolina definitely shut down. We had our issues, but as I said, it's not like the stories that I've heard. Right. I am thankful for Jeff Lynch Appliance and Pure on Main, and they did not, these are BFL members, and they did not comply with, well, there was no law to start with, but there's so many small businesses here locally that I will not go back to personally because they said I could not shop in their store without a mask on. And I said, okay. And I can go spend my money somewhere else.
Exactly.
But the ones that gave me the option to wear a mask or not wear a mask, I still support. And I mean, there's thousands of us out there that do this. It's not just me.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's transition a little bit into something a little bit more fun. What is something interesting or surprising about you, Eric, that maybe somebody listening to this, they have no idea?
So, and Jimmy and I've actually talked about this. I've opened up more in the last year about some of my medical struggles growing up. So I was almost entirely deaf in Ireland from until I think 3. I had a lot of motor skill limitations. I couldn't even tie my shoe, open a door. All the doctors said I was going to be either like autistic or needs, special needs type of school. And I throw sidearm. I throw, actually with baseball, I went to a Sidearm Nation camp in Florida with some major league player, a bunch of minor leaguers, high school, college. And every time I throw, I think I shouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah.
I was told I couldn't be able to do this, any sport. So kind of a walking miracle.
And I've seen that sidearm throw on Instagram, so we're going to have to insert that video in right here just so everyone watching can see it.
So what caused those challenges at an early age?
So from what I understand, and Mom and I have talked about this at length, I had the MMR vaccination. And I came out as a really healthy, smiling baby, and then suddenly, not so much.
So it was a vaccine injury.
Yeah, vaccine injury.
And I have multiple friends that are missionaries in like South America and Central America, and they're struggling with that right now. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that the media doesn't really talk about. It is a real thing, and it affects everybody differently, but it is a real documented thing that vaccines injure people. But you can't sue the vaccine companies in America.
There's no accountability, none.
When we were about to become new parents, we found this book by Dr. Paul Thomas, The Vaccine Friendly Plan.
Oh, I haven't read that.
He is, it's funny, his book's like, hey, I'm not against all vaccines. Let me give you all of the things, but here's what I am against. But he came out during COVID saying that he was against it, that there wasn't enough research behind it, and his practice was completely shut down in Oregon.
Wow.
He lost his license, like all this stuff, and we ended up, like, thankfully with a homeopathic doctor that ended up, like, taking all of his clients after he lost his license, and that's, you know, just someone that we've continued to follow. So for anybody out there that is looking, having kids, Dr. Paul Thomas, The Vaccine Friendly Plan, incredible book. You know, it's not against everything. Like if your kid is gonna, you know, go to Africa, or if they're gonna work in medicine, like maybe they should get the hepatitis vaccine, but like, in regards to some of the other ones, not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: do your research. Yeah. You know, if you feel like, hey, this is the best thing for me, and that's your decision, you have the liberty to get that. But it shouldn't be forced on anybody, right? You know, we go to a local doctor here, and he does give vaccines, but if you don't get it, he doesn't pressure you. Yeah. So, needless to say, his office stays very busy. Yes. All my friends, I've been going there for a decade since our kids were born. And all, you know, I know a lot of people that go there. Mm-hmm. But you were talking about throwing sidearm. Give us a little. I know you have a nonprofit. Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. So Throw the Ball Foundation. Thank you for asking. I love it with all my heart. My dream is to go all over the country and the world eventually, getting people to throw the ball, whether they're disabled, elderly, younger, doesn't matter, and interview them about why is it important to throw the ball. You remember Sandlot?
Oh yeah.
We need to bring that back. We need Sandlot back in this country, and we need that. You know, neighborhoods people knowing each other where they live. Like people drive in their garage, you don't see them. Kids are on iPads at 6. Like, I mean, there's just a huge problem here. I mean, we probably are all the same. I would get back late at night, you know, in the house with my brothers, having played sports all day, muddy and dirty, and like you just don't see that much anymore. You know, I think we've gotten so because of COVID too in 2020. We've gotten so isolated and don't even look at a stranger. And I mean, it's a really different world even than when we grew up.
Mm-hmm. We used to play baseball in the basically the road of the trailer park I lived in.
Yes.
Yeah. In a car, everybody pause. Right. It goes by and game on.
Yes.
It's so crazy for me to hear you guys talk about how you guys see the isolation here, because we just, you know, we're so culture shocked coming here. Like I remember when we first visited here, it was at the height of the pandemic. We're building a house, and everybody stopped to talk to us. People would talk to us for 20, 30 minutes, even to the point where you couldn't get away sometimes. And that's South Carolina. But then we got back into the Portland airport, and people just turned their nose away from us. They didn't even want to look us in the eyes. They had their masks on, and whatever about the mask. We can go there another time, but they just we had just come off this like emotional high of like all of these people in the Southern hospitality, and then we got there, and it was just like everybody was in their own world and wanted absolutely nothing to do with us. And that was like such a selling point for us to be here. Just for us, like, I mean, just people are moving here like crazy in droves. I meet more people who have moved here from out of state than people who are from here.
That is true.
When I came to this office, one of the guys in the office, he was like, hey man, I have this shirt that says like, welcome to Greenville. Please don't move here. It's like the housing prices keep going up because people love it.
They keep featuring the upstate in these magazines, top 10 best places to live and all. And I'm like, y'all got to stop doing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we found it. We found a YouTube channel.
There you go.
This incredible couple that was making, you know, Christian conservative videos about how, you know, upstate is the best place to live. And, you know, we called them and bought a house from them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They should be in Liberty Network.
That's right.
Oh, exactly.
Let's get in
brought
contact
Jamie to us. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, and the other thing, too, I was just going to throw in there with Throw the Ball is, literally throw in there, is, you know, there's so many kids that don't have mentors. You know, even down in Edisto Island, there's a lot of gang violence. There's not only parents on drugs, grandparents on drugs. So these kids have nobody to listen to them, nobody to talk life with. It breaks my heart to see it. And I want to be able to have something that's kind of unorthodox. I mean, you're out there throwing the ball, it could be anywhere, talking about faith, talking about their dreams, talking about like what's possible, and then talking about my story, saying, hey, I was counted out. I was told I could never do what we're doing right now. And really being able to pour into, that's why I'm so, actually I'll be today at Lifestyle Creators Academy, changing from this into my full baseball uniform, throwing with a bunch of kids today.
It's a fun way to have a common ground and make a connection and have that conversation.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love it. Let's transition a little bit here to networking. Okay,
Yes.
so networking, Liberty Networking, businesses for Liberty created to connect people. A little bit about, just networking in general, like Jimmy, explain to us a little bit more about like the actual breakdown, because people watching this, a lot of them are either members in Liberty Networking or they want to potentially become a member and they're kind of on the edge. Talk to us about like what is the format of one of those meetings? What does it look like in regards to like the seats in the business? Just kind of give us a little overview of that.
Yeah, so there are multiple chapters that meet bi-weekly, and one of the reasons that we set the structure up like that is because I believe a network organization should be a tool for your business and not a part-time job. So we meet bi-weekly instead of weekly, and each chapter has their own meeting date and location that you meet at consistently. And one of the differences from other organizations, if you visited, is we have 3 minutes to talk, not 30 seconds.
I've been to one of those. They held up the sign. Your 30 seconds is up. Move on.
So the 3 minutes, which also includes an icebreaker question, because like I said earlier, our core focus is building authentic long-term relationships. So we want to be more on the personal side, get to know you. Yeah, we know, you're a roofer, you sell insurance. That's fine. And we can get more details about that whenever the time comes that we need your goods or services, but we want to get to know you as a person.
I mean, when people get to know you as a person, like that referral comes so much more natural. It really does. I mean, there's been a handful of people that I've met inside of Liberty Networking that, I mean, I have multiple things that I'm trying to plug. Even, we've got this office space downtown, and from getting to know me, they're like, hey, like that's a quality person that you should do business with in any regard, whether it's buying insurance from me or coming to fill an office space, that we're trying to fill. And it's like you get referrals that way by building those relationships, and then you have that relationship, you become the first person that everyone wants to tag in the young professional type groups that are out there.
Absolutely. So the meetings are a great way to you stay in touch with these people. You see them on a regular basis. But outside of that, we always encourage people to do an RBM, which is a relationship building meeting. Mm-hmm. You meet for somebody with lunch or coffee, because that's really where the magic happens. You get to know them better. You're vetting them as you get to know them. And then whenever you know somebody or they know somebody that needs your goods or services, then it keeps you top of mind to give them that referral or get a referral. And so, I mean, that's a big part of networking, is just building a relationship. Some of the benefits of being a member of Liberty Networking is, we have every area has its own Facebook group. And so you can post in that group as a member and promote your business and your events and things like that. You also have the entire directory of Liberty Networking members that you can reach out to. So it's much more than just your specific chapter that you're a member of. And in that chapter that you're a member of, you have exclusivity to what your industry seat is. And then also you, as a member, you have unlimited visits to other chapters. So if you have a lot in your area, you can visit multiple chapters, or you're traveling for business and you want to visit another chapter in another area, you can do that as well.
I love it. Erik, if you could go back to the beginning and you were starting, XYZ business and you started with Liberty Networking, like what would be some tips that you would give some people on here on how you would get yourself out there? Like how would you make yourself known? How would you try to serve others? Like what does that look like?
I think a lot of people would agree with this. People follow passion. If you love what you do, people feel it off of you. If you're not passionate about it, nobody else is going to be passionate about your business. And I think when people like you guys are absolutely nailing it, lead with the personality, lead with the person. I tell people what I try to do is humanize businesses, because, like you're right, Jimmy, there could be any other baker, there could be any other hairstylist, but people know you for your personality. Even talking about sidearm, like the stuff that makes Erik me is going to be different and more appealing than someone else who does what I do, but it's just a totally different personality type. So I tell people, lean in on your quirks, lean in on the things that make you, you. And people are either going to identify with it or they're not. you're not going to appeal to everybody. I think that's one problem I see even in things like network marketing and different types of businesses is the people who do well, the people who are just themselves. Stop trying to be an influencer. Stop trying to be an Instagram sensation. Just be you.
I love it.
Jimmy, you've been doing this for a while. What's one of the top mistakes or pitfalls that people make in joining a networking group?
They think the business is going to show up because they join.
Okay.
They don't put the work in, the building, the relationships. I have developed the structure and I have it there for people to take part in, but I can't make them do the work of building the relationships. When somebody is in a network or they're networking in general, I always say there's 3 or 4 tips that I give, and this is where people often, if they're not doing one of these things, they probably won't be as successful. One is be on time. It's simple, but it matters. 2, be authentic. So be yourself. Eric was just saying that. Don't be somebody different here in a meeting and go back to your job and then you're home and you're 3 different people. That's going to come out and people are going to understand. They're as they get to know you, they're going to know something's not right here, and that trust level is not going to be there no matter what service or product you're offering. So be on time, be authentic, and follow up. If somebody gives you a referral or you get a referral, whatever, follow up with that, because I have given referrals and I know because I talked to the people that I gave it for, and they didn't follow up, they didn't follow through.
Do you want to give a referral to that person again?
Not going to happen.
Yeah, that's big. All right, give me just a quick, 20, 30 seconds, each of you guys. Someone's watching this right now. They're on the edge. They're not sure if they want to join Liberty Networking. Why should they maybe consider?
Do you want to do business with like-minded people and grow your business? If you want to grow your business and you're willing to put in the work to build the relationships, we can help you be successful.
That's right.
Yeah, we have a country to save, and there are so many people that need you. They need your business. You are the reinforcements for our country. And if we want to take back our country, we need one business at a time saying, I am a proud patriot, and I want to work with other patriots.
It's powerful, guys. All right, Eric, plug yourself here. Let's talk about your website, your social media. Like, where can people find you, and how could they even work with you? Talk about Business for Liberty and kind of, what you offer. And I mean, you're welcome to share any numbers, memberships, deals, anything you like.
Yeah, so it's funny, Jimmy, you were talking about the differences between what you do at Liberty Networking and other networking groups. The difference with Businesses for Liberty and other, quote, big patriot organizations is I'm not trying to have 1,000 people overnight. I want to have personal relationships with these business owners, and I want consumers to get to know them personally. That takes a little more effort, and it's not looking for the mass advertising right away in the sense of I want to get to know the people's story. Why do they even start the business? Yep. What is their dream? What makes them excited to wake up in the morning? I want to know those questions. I want those questions answered. So we're, like I said, on 12 social media platforms. We're in 16 states. What I love about businessesforliberty.com is we have a pretty cool directory. You can look up by category of business, by location of business. Actually, if you join Businesses for Liberty, you can post once a day in our group, We the Patriots, which has 28,000 people in it. And of course, once a day, because we don't want to be flooding with just one business. But people are hungry, Jamie. Yep. They're hungry to want to know where to go. Yep. And we have those answers. In fact, I'll tell you one quick story. Jerry Roth down in Sumter County, South Carolina, he was looking to buy a car. And he said, Eric, you know what I did? I went on the directory, businessesforliberty.com, and he said, I looked there first, and I got my car from Somerville Ford.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a major lifetime purchase that he made, and he did it because he had an alternative.
And I won't say, I do have my business, Liberty Network, and I'm trying, I'm getting the word out. And so I have it listed on multiple Patriot sites. It's just listed there. Here's the website. What I appreciate about Erik and Businesses for Liberty, what you do is you vet these people. Like, anybody can go on these websites and click, I'm a Patriot or whatever, and they're just there. Erik personally talks to each one of them. Like, I remember you telling me a story a while back. A lady said, hey, I'm a Republican. He said, that's not what I asked. Are you pro-life? Do you believe in the Second Amendment? And she said, I'm a Republican. He says, I don't think you're going to be a good fit. Yeah. And these other organizations, they don't have that level of vetting. And so whenever I shop or do a service with someone in BFL, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, like I said, Jamie, we've turned down a number of businesses. Yeah. if you go on our directory, you'll know every single one of them is pro-life, pro-liberty, pro-history, pro-Second Amendment, and America First. To me, if you don't have those values, you're not really a patriot.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, like people say, oh, medical freedom. That's one issue. One issue. I want to know where you're at, like you said, Jimmy, on these other issues.
It's powerful. Well, Erik, thank you so much for spending your time with us,
I'm
man.
so honored to be here.
We
This
would
is
love
great.
to have you back for a round two.
I don't want this to
sometime in
end.
the
I'm
future.
having too much fun here. And Jimmy, thank you for letting me be your first guest.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Tremendous.
Well, guys, we will be back. We're going to have more guests. This is going to be a consistent thing here in the new year. We're excited. If you are somebody in Liberty Networking that would like to be featured, we're even going to go ahead and link the form for you to go ahead and apply to be featured here on our podcast. We're excited to be able to tell your story, learn your lessons, and be able to share that with the community. So, guys, we will talk to you next time, and everyone have a great day. Talk soon.
God bless you.